Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're making an in-depth look at how to make a restaurant in Planet Coaster 2. In this video I'm going to show you tips, tricks and small details you might not have thought about before. Things that really bring a restaurant to life. We're doing the full thing today. Exterior, interior, decorating, atmosphere, all of it. And of course, this build is set right here in the Unworldly Realms plaza, so we're going for that cursed, rooty, magical fantasy vibe that ties into this area. Let's jump straight into it. So we're obviously starting right away by adding in some of the new Sorcery pack walls, as you can see here. I'm also using the Mythology wall decoration trim 2-corner piece to form the archway for the door. Later on I'll use the same pieces to make custom arches for the windows too. 2 simple cobblestone walls gives us that nice entrance shape. The door sits on the top of the Sorcery pack steps and it already sets the tone for the whole restaurant. And like I said, I'm mixing fairy tale pieces, sorcery pieces, Viking pieces, mythology pieces, and I highly recommend experimenting like this in your own builds. Once the entrance is sorted, I add the door and set it up double-sided so it exists both inside and outside for realism. Then I begin the trim work. I'm using Driftwood pieces because they have a natural worn, aged look, and with scaling you can get some great broken textures. Next, I add a window on the left, and I'll repeat the same process on the right, even though I'm not showing it twice. I'm making custom window frames with the Sorcery Arch, wood pieces, and recolored glass. Up top, I want the building to look like it has a second floor, so I use Viking window frames to create that illusion. A big tip here is, sink your window frames slightly into the wall. Don't just place them on top. It adds way more depth and realism. I'm using half of a wooden arch to add a decorative detail to the front. This will eventually hold the Thornspire Tavern sign. The name ties into what we're adding later, thorns and roots growing through the building. Trim work continues here. Trim is one of the easiest and best ways to elevate Tudor or Bavarian fantasy buildings. I'm also mixing in mythology pieces for square detailing. The lime plaster walls up top blend beautifully with the Sorcery keep walls on the bottom. Really clean combo. We add lanterns and some mulch to block out foliage areas later. On the roof, I'm using wooden brackets to create my usual custom layered roof. Duplicate, rotate, scale, raise, lower. The usual technique that make roofs looks handcrafted. Quick LOD tip. These brackets disappear from far away, so place a larger plank or board behind them so you still have something visible at a distance. But now I'm taking a wall decoration piece and turning it into another window. Trim, frame, glass, then duplicating around the building. break the boxy shape of the structure, I'm adding a small tower using the fairy tale spire connected with sorcery pillars. This gives the building a much stronger silhouette and more of a fantasy character. I'm also adding the pirate sandstone window frames. Mixing styles like this adds so much texture. I fill in the roof pieces so you don't see the back of the brackets. Then I make a circular stone window frame where I'll place a candle. Looks great both inside and outside. The backside of the restaurant is simple, since it doesn't face the plaza. Just clean trims and walls. We add vines, decals, more windows and even a shutter with black arch to fake depth where the wall couldn't be open. On the front, I placed 2 griffin gargoyles. They fit the fantasy look perfectly. Finally, I used sorcery pack, tree branches, vines, ivy, foliage, all placed intentionally, never overdone. And then I built a decorative center arch where the tavern sign will hang. I learned a super cool trick using the new bark pieces from the sorcery pack. If you push them through the roof tiles and shift the tiles slightly, it looks like the tree roots have broken right through the roof. It's incredibly realistic and adds tons of depth. Inside, I start layering out the interior path using small squares. I fill the whole area, leaving space for benches and clutter later. A note about the double-sided windows is the Mythology trim piece have a long backside that sticks through the wall. Duplicating and flipping the window, adding drapes inside it perfectly and makes the interior cozy. I've placed the restaurant module behind a hidden wall so the interior floor stays open for decorating. For the interior inside, I use this wooden pillar to make the perfect shape of the ceiling, trying to give the interior that worn longhouse vibe. I angled them along the half arch and add Viking boards behind them to close everything off. Next, I placed the fairy tale chandeliers, now scale perfectly thanks to the update. Around the interior, I add Viking trim walls to prepare for shelves and details. Outside, I build a Thornspire Tavern sign using Viking boards, chains, my go-to plank piece, and a stylist font. I add statue heads and star details to the front trim for extra visual interest. Inside, I build a custom fireplace using Viking rune pieces with decals behind it for that torn, aged look. Then I box it up into a chimney that aligns with the one on the roof. I'll use fake fire for guest safety, of course. The sorcery pack continues to be incredibly useful. Highly recommend if you don't have it. For wall detailing, I use a townhouse half timber decoration. Any gaps get filled with Viking sign pieces. I also grab my bookshelves from Twisted Hamlet's wonky house because they fit perfectly inside the tavern. To finish up inside, I add stone flooring to give the restaurant a grounded medieval feel. Then I place the bark spires breaking through the ceiling, the same ones visible outside. This ties the interior and exterior together and gives the building its Thornspire identity. Outside, I add some benches and seating to connect everything with the surrounding community builds. And that's basically the final touch for the Thornspire Tavern, a fully themed fantasy restaurant with a full interior, full exterior, and lots of little details. Alright friends, so today we built the Thornspire Tavern. we covered how to build a detailed fantasy facade, custom windows, trims, arches, and roof work, breaking up boxy shapes with towers and composition, using multiple theme sets together, sorcery, fairy tale, Viking, mythology, and pirate, creating a full interior layout, using driftwood, bark pieces, and decals for worn magical effects, building a custom fireplace, adding signage, lighting, vines, and foliage, a full, fully themed restaurant built inside and out. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more builds like this, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next tutorials and build episodes. Let me know in the comments what you want me to build next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.